All right, we're back. We're trying this again. Thanks to all of our listeners and viewers for letting us know that you could not actually hear us. This is Convince Me from the Action Network on Action Network HQ, and we are big, big, big grown up people today. We got a sponsor, folks. 888 Sports. This is Convince Me, brought to you by 888 Sport. We got Katie Rich Creek and Darren Ravel on the news desk. We got an exciting 2 hours to get your bets in before games kick off. We're going to start with some player props. We got Chris Raybon, Matthew Friedman, Sean Corner. Sean Corner, give me your exclusive Saturday Night Football prop. We're going to get a big contest out of it. Talk to me.
So I'm going with Terry McLaurin under his receiving yards today. I was able to get it at 68.5 last night. It's all the way down to 62.5. I still like it there. We're still not 100% sure who's actually starting for Washington. It could be Taylor Heineke, could be Alex Smith. It could be, both sharing snaps today. I don't think it matters here. Terry McLaurin's playing through an ankle injury, so he's gutting this out. He's going to be well less than 100%. He was limited in practice all week. He's been able to overcome poor QB play before, but I think given he'll be limited, that's a double whammy here. And plus, there's more competition for targets in this offense now. Last year, he was able to dominate the target share simply because he was really the only other option. This season, guys like J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, and to a lesser extent, Cam Sims have been able to step up. So, they can lean on these guys a bit more. Maybe McLaurin will be more of a decoy. I just don't like his receiving total being this high. I would set it closer to, 57.5. So I'm actually betting this down all the way to 59.5.
Wow. All right. So it opened at 68. It's down to 62.5. You like it down to 59.5. You're projecting it at 57.5. Terry McLaurin, receiving yards. Reply to at Action Network HQ with the total number of receiving yards you think Terry McLaurin will have tonight, and you can win some money. Speaking of winning some money, Matthew Friedman, can you give me something that might make me think I'm going to win some money today?
Yeah, I like Sean's prop. That's a good one, but mine is better, Chad. I know how much you love hearing me talk about third string running backs. So I'm going to give the people what they want. And that is a solid 30 to 45 seconds of analysis on one Peyton Barber. We're going under 9.5 yards rushing. Astoundingly, this is not the first time I've highlighted Barber on the show. And that's because he has such wonderful splits. And Washington wins. Barber plays about 30% of the snaps, and he averages 31.1 yards on 10.9 carries. He's there between the tackles, change of pace grinder, and sloth-like end-game closer. But in losses, he plays just 8% of the snaps and averages 4.4 yards on 2 carries. On top of that, the Bucs, their run defense is actually pretty good. It's number 1 in the league in DVOA. So the football team, they're at home. I could see them getting the cover. That's a tease for later in the show, but I doubt that they will actually be in a winning position throughout the game to give Barber meaningful snaps. Betting the under on Barber, it's not sexy, but it is curmudgeonly, and pessimism makes the world go round. The under 9.5 yards for Barber, that line should be like 6.5. So I love it where it is.
All right. Number one, my mind is blown right now because if I want to be on Washington to cover or win, then I kind of got to hope for a Terry McLaurin over because he's going to have a big game in order for them to do that. I also don't want to root for Peyton Barber to be under. And I completely disagree with your premise that pessimism makes the world go round. That might have been a 2020 tude, but that's not the 2021 tude, dude. Chris Raybon, what do you got? Please be better than the trash Matthew Friedman just gave me.
Well, please be better with your slang, Chad. A tude. I mean, that's at least a decade old, if not two. I don't even know, but what that was.
I'm an old person. I use the words I'm comfortable with.
That is certainly correct. I'll be quick. Trey Burton, Indianapolis Colt tight end, over 1.5 receptions, -114. He's caught 2 or more balls in 8 of 13 games, 61.5% of the time. Buffalo has given up an NFL high 92 receptions to tight ends. I would bet this up to -150.
All right, everybody, give me your last take. Who's got the best bet? Whose bet should I take? Who's got an opinion on which one I should go with right now?
Well, if you're going to be on Washington against the spread, I don't think you need Terry McLaurin going off. You just need the defense to play solid. And in that situation, you kind of do want Peyton Barber to get a few touches. So if you're looking for correlation here, I think you'll be rooting for Peyton Barber. Trey Burton, I mean, we're just throwing darts when it comes to Colts tight ends. I trust Ray Bond's analysis, but it's been tricky to say the least projecting Colts tight ends this year.
Yeah, I trust my analysis too. I'd go me.
Yeah, you know what? I do want to go with Ray Bond. I do want to go with something foreshadowing a little bit. I may be a little bit overinvested in the Washington football team in a variety of ways today. And so I might need to have something to root for in the Buffalo Colts game earlier in the day. So I'm going with Trey Burton over 1.5 receiving yards. It is now time.
Receptions.
I want 1.5 receptions.
Same
it is
thing.
now time. Stop correcting me, Raybon. It is
It's hard
now
not to.
time. I'm trying to get to our sponsor, our new sponsor segment. It's time for News on the Eights, brought to you by 888sport with Darren Ravel. Is Darren on mute?
That was a good start.
Have respect for 888sport, please.
It is the 888 on the 8 update. 75% of the tickets, 89% of the handle, with Buffalo -6.5. And they also have 88% on the money line, right? So you're not even taking a shot at the Colts. This mirrors other sports books. Everything is pretty much above 85% on the spread for the Colts, for the Bills at 6.5. And 88 also tells us that if all three favorites win, the Bills, the Seahawks, and the Bucks, they'll be down over six figures. And now for the quick promo, it's 888's Road to the Super Bowl. So if you bet $300 a week in January, you will get $30 in free bets for the Super Bowl. And if you bet $500 a week in January, you get $50 in free bets for the Super Bowl. This has been your 888 news update on the Eights.
I am so worried about this because I am also, if I am overinvested in the Washington football team, I might be overinvested in the Buffalo Bills as well. I've been a little bit worried about this number just sitting on 6.5 and what that has meant all week. And I know we got some exciting sides to get to. Sean Corner, you go first.
Yeah, I'm fading the public here, so I'm all over the Colts plus 6.5. Like you mentioned, a ton of the action has been on the Bills, yet the line is still at 6.5. Well, now that I know that Chris Raybon is all over the Trey Burton over 1.5 receptions, I think I like the Colts just a little bit more now. But in all seriousness, Josh Allen, he has been amazing this year. It's truly been a breakout season. One of the things that he does is he torches man coverage. Out of 42 qualified quarterbacks, he ranks first in EPA per attempt versus man. But, against zone defense, he's somewhat human. He ranks 15th out of 42, which is still very, very good. However, the Colts do play heavy zone. They played at the 5th highest rate this year. So I think they can slow him down. You're not going to really stop Josh Allen at this point. You can at least slow him down. So I think they'll be able to keep it close. They still have studs like DeForest Buckner, Darius Leonard, Xavier Rhodes on defense. So I think they can keep it close and attack this Bills defense on the ground. That's really the Bills' only weakness is their run defense. They rank 22nd against the run in EPA per attempt. So I think, the Colts can lean on rookie Jonathan Taylor here, who has been on fire. Only Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than Jonathan Taylor since week 11. So I think if they're able to keep it close, they can run the ball. And I think ultimately the Bills do end up winning by a field goal here. I would have this line closer to 4.5. But the fact that we're getting plus 6.5 here, 6 has been one of the key numbers since 2015, ever since they moved extra points back. I think that could come into play. It should be freezing here. So, we could see some missed extra points. I love getting 6.5 here. It might even go up to 7. So I'm holding out to bet even more on this, but I love the Colts today.
Yeah, I got to tell you, everything you said there to me reeked of looking for reasons to bet the Colts from an on-field perspective, except for the key number of 6. That scares me. And I was waiting all week to get the Bills -6. I didn't get it. So I'm at 6.5. I hate your pick. I hate this idea. I don't want you to win. Matthew Friedman, I hate being mean to Sean Corner because normally I like to do that to you. And yet he did something that was so disgusting. I don't even know if you can top it.
He mentioned Xavier Rhodes as a reason why you should be betting on the Colts. That on its own is bad enough. Chad, years from now, when you look back on this super wild card Saturday, are you going to remember the Bills blowing out the Colts or the Seahawks and Rams boring each other to death? No, you're going to remember professional quarterback Alex Smith and or practice squad rando Taylor Heineke combining to get bettors that sweet backdoor cover in prime time. Chad, you want to be a part of that excitement. So I implore you to bet on the Washington footballers at +8. If you look in the Action Network app, you'll see that Sharp Action, our pro systems, and some of our top bettors are on Washington. I think this is going to be a defensive battle, more on that later, which means a tight one-score game. Washington is number 2 in the league in both PFF coverage grade and pass defense DVOA, primarily because they have a great defensive line that can pressure the passer. And we know how much Bucs quarterback Tom Brady is impacted by pressure. And their secondary it's better than people think. All 3 of their starting corners are having some of the best years of their career. This defense right now is locked in, and Brady, old man that he is, with his early 8:30 Eastern bedtime, hates playing in primetime games. In the early and afternoon games this year, the Bucs are 9-3 against the spread. In primetime, they are 0-4 against the spread. Add on top of that Brady is playing on the road in cold weather, and it is just too easy to take Washington. I grabbed this at 8.5. I would bet the football team down to +7.
Friedman, I love it so much. I can barely tell you and Corner apart. You're 2 bearded dudes, kind of hipsters with hats on right now. And I love what you just said. It's like you guys have switched bodies. Raybon, can you say anything to make me like your pick more than what Friedman just told me?
Yes, I can, Chad. I've been duped. When I originally was going to make my picks, I was told that I couldn't pick the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Bills that you like, because Matthew Friedman was going to take the Buffalo Bills. And then I get on this morning and Matthew Friedman's on a 3rd-string quarterback going against the best one of all time. So I don't know what's going on. I like Seattle -3 because they're going to face either a guy with a messed up thumb or a guy that's essentially another 3rd-string quarterback. But I'm just upset that I couldn't get the easy win by picking the Buffalo Bills -6 because Josh Allen against cover 2, he is actually the best quarterback in terms of EPA, and that's the type of zone the Colts play the most. But you look at Seattle, and they beat the Rams 20-9 a couple of weeks ago, held them under 10 points, and they're holding opponents over the second half of the year, just like we thought, Chad, when they played historically bad defense over the first half of the year. Just like we thought Seattle, holding opponents to just 16 points per game over their last 8. The Rams barely beat Chris Streveler and a limping Kyler Murray to get into the playoffs. The Rams are the real ones limping, and I expect them to go down to Seattle today.
All right, listen, I don't need a second round of debate here. I want to be on the side of the bold. I want to make history. I don't want to go down in 2021 as the guy who made the safe pick. While I love Seattle, while I love Buffalo, I want the Washington football team. And let me give you 2 more stats. 2 more stats from the Action Network podcast hosted by Chris Raybon and Stuckey. Tom Brady this year against top 10 defenses, 0-4. Tom Brady this year against top 10 pass rushing defenses, 2-2, 7 touchdown, 5 picks. He is not good in this situation. This is a Chase Young go off. Forget about the quarterbacks. I love Alex Smith, professional football quarterback. Thank you, Matthew Friedman, for recognizing. But this is a defensive juggernaut to me. Give me the Washington football team. You can still get it at +8.5 some places. I like it at +8.5. I like it at +8. Katie Rich Creek, what do you got from the Action Network news desk? You're on mute too, Katie. We still can't hear Katie.
Should we read lips?
Katie might have really good stuff, but we're skipping Katie right now. We're going to go into the totals. Let's just go right into the totals. Sean Corner, what do you got for me on totals today?
All right, I'm going with the under in this Rams-Seahawks game. Another game where we don't really know who's starting at quarterback for one of the teams. I don't think it's going to matter. I think a limited Jared Goff is basically on par with John Walford at this point. I think that the Rams will have a pretty run-heavy conservative game plan either way. And, Seattle has been a team I've been kind of attacking their under for several weeks now, and it's been hitting for me. Jamal Adams, it looked like he was shaken up last week, but it looks like he's good to go today. That's huge. So that makes me love this even more. But also, the Seahawks, they've become a more run-heavy conservative offense ever since this defense has turned it around, which I predicted earlier in the season. So these past two meetings have been low scoring. It was 16-23 in the first meeting, 20-9 their second meeting. I think it continues here. I love the under. Right now it's at 42.5. I'm waiting for this to go up to 43. That's actually the key number when it comes to total. So if it doesn't go up there, I'm going to buy a half point. That's how huge this is. But I love this game being a low scoring defensive battle today.
I love the Seattle LA under, but I don't know if Friedman has something that can make me be convinced to go another direction.
I mean, Chad, you already like Washington at plus 8.5, and that correlates very nicely with the under. And I should say all three of my picks today are in that Washington Tampa Bay game. If you really want to thread the needle, just parlay all of them. It's great being a donkey. I'm going with the under 44.5 in this Washington Tampa Bay game. I mentioned earlier that I think this will be a defensive battle. I talked about how good Washington is at applying pressure and playing pass defense. The Bucs are pretty good too on defense. They're number 1 against the run, number 5 against the pass and DVOA, and they are getting back number 1 corner Carlton Davis, who is likely to shadow wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who, as Sean mentioned earlier, has that ankle injury he's dealing with. Washington, of course, their running back Antonio Gibson, he's also injured, and then Alex Smith, who knows what is going on with him. So this game sets up well for both defenses. It's being played outdoors in the cold January weather of Washington, D.C., and in our Bet Labs database, outdoor playoff games are an A-graded 81, 60, and 4 to the under. And for Washington, the under is 10, 5, and 1 this season. I bet this at 46.5. I still like it at 44.5. I would take it down to 42.5.
You know what's funny about betting? The grosser the bet, the more disgusting the bet, the more likely you convince yourself that over the course of the day, that is the right side to be on. That is the smartest way to go. 44.5, as Corner just mentioned, like you're over the key numbers. You're over 43, you're over 44. So if you like that, under 44.5, it's hard not to look at that one and think, oh, that's kind of interesting. Raybon, are you going to feel aggrieved that Matthew Friedman took the Washington football team and the Tampa Bay Bucs under, or you got something better?
Yeah, I have something better because Matthew Friedman is correct. Outdoor games in the playoffs go under at a very high rate. That's especially true in the wild card round. They are 38-14 since 2003, a 73% win rate toward the under. So why not go with the highest under and give yourself some space here? Buffalo, Indianapolis under 51.5. You look at Indianapolis and you say, okay, that's a team that, is playing some defense, but Buffalo is actually the better team in weighted defensive DVOA. They are number 8 since getting Matt Milano back. They've been excellent schematically. They've changed some things up. They're going to have Tre'Davious White and all those corners. Sean McVay with those safeties, Sean McDermott with those safeties, not letting any big plays happen. They're number 4 in explosive plays allowed. And Sean kind of hit on it. The Colts do still, their path to winning this game or keeping it close is running the ball with Jonathan Taylor. Now, I have my doubts about the Colts actually being able to pull it off, but that's how they're going to have to play. And it is outdoors. Phillip Rivers, he's a dome guy. He's a warm weather guy. So when Buffalo wins 43-6, the under will hit.
What do we think of Phillip Rivers' health right now and his ability to move on his injured toe?
I personally just have, a rule that I've followed for most of the year, which is don't bet on Phillip Rivers. He's a guy that he can give points to the other team, which is, a little unnerving when you play this, when you play the under here. But in the playoffs, generally, you see teams play it tighter to the vest, closer together. You see, we've seen a lot of going for it this year on 4th down, a lot of teams, taking riskier decisions. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to continue in the playoffs. And even the penalties that we've seen not called in the regular season. I think we could actually see a little bit of an uptick. So, unders have been cashing in the wild card round by an average of 3.9 points per game since 2003. And I think this total is a bit high given the circumstances.
I got to say, the unders on all three of these are so appealing. Who can make a final argument for the best claim to convincing me of their bet?
Yeah, Chad. Sean is asking you to kind of be a little bit negative on Russell Wilson, and Raybon is asking you to be negative on Josh Allen. I'm asking you to be negative on a third string quarterback and a 43-year-old quarterback who's up past his bedtime. Pretty simple.
I'm telling you to take the under on the highest total game. Give yourself some breathing room.
And I'm telling you to take the under on a matchup that has already gone under this total twice this year, and today will be the third time.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm down to Raybon and corner, and I feel like Raybon, I hadn't really considered sort of the number you gave in terms of the lean towards the over and cold weather. But I got to go with corner on this one. Like, the Seahawks defense has been lights out since they got Carlos Dunlap and Jamal Adams coming back. And they've recognized that their rushing game is the way they're going to win games. And they've stopped having to let Russ cook against who knows what's going to happen at quarterback for the Rams. But either way, like, the delta between the backup and Jared Goff is like 3 points in the point spread on the side. And I just don't see them being able to get much offense going, especially since they already tried to be a rushing team. I like this game to go way, way under. I'm with corner. I'll buy the half point if I can't get it at 43 before kickoff, but if not, I'm fine with 42.5. Give me the Rams and the Seahawks under 42.5. Katie Rich Creek, can we hear you right now?
An excellent question. Oh, I think
yes,
we can.
We hear you.
Thankfully. Okay.
Before we get to our 888 news desk, let's hear some news from you.
So I had good news for you, regardless of which of these three picks you would have chosen in the last round, because all three were unders and all three are featuring games that are being played outdoors, which is a match for this historical trend. Since 2003, outdoor playoff games have gone toward the under at a 57% rate, going 81, 60, and 4. And they had an even higher rate in the wild card round, going 38 and 14 to hit 73% of the time. So at least I can close you out with good news. The audio came back.
No, that's good. Both of those things are good news. Smash, smash, smash. Everyone take the unders in all of these games. All right, let's get to our news on the 8s from the Action Network News Desk with Darren Ravel.
Hold on, I'm waiting till it says 11:28. We're pretty close. No, just kidding. We're really good for our first week. This is the 888 news desk on the 8s. And by the time I'm done, we'll be at 11:28. Most interesting thing that we've seen, given your talk about the Bills and the Colts and to the under, 888's biggest liability right now is the over on 51.5. They received a pretty big bet on that. And if you just look at the money, 91% of the money is on the over. Interestingly enough, 52% of bets. So that's interesting. Seems like the money obviously loves the over in that game. And just reminding you of the promo again with 888. You spend $300, bet $300 every week in January. You get $30 for your Super Bowl bet, free Super Bowl bet. And if you spend $500 every week in January betting, you will get $50 in free bets for your Super Bowl.
All right. Thank you, Darren. Thank you for the news on the 8s update from the Action Network News Desk. It's time for me to give you the three bets that I have been convinced of. Chris Raybon convinced me to take Trey Burton, Indianapolis Colts, tight end, over 1.5 receptions. Matthew Friedman did not need to convince me very hard to take the Washington football team +8 because I want to be bold in 2021 and I want to be remembered for making the hard choices, which is why I also went with Sean Corner's convincing bet of the under on Seattle and Los Angeles under 42.5. If you can buy it up to 43 or wait, that's even better, but take the 42.5 in the under. This has been Convince Me, presented by 888 Sport. For Chris Raybon, Matthew Friedman, Sean Corner, Katie Rich Creek, Darren Ravel. I'm Chad Millman. Tomorrow, back here again, 11 a.m. at Action Network HQ. Convince Me, presented by 888 Sport. We'll go over the 3 wildcard games for Sunday. Huge weekend, folks. Enjoy.